idea. Today we'll see the importance of variation. Okay, so last class we have seen that the copying of the DNA is not 100%, right? Some error may happen, okay, due to the chemical reaction. uh, Due to the chemical reaction, some errors may occur. Okay, so it is not 100% exactly copied of exact copy of the DNA. Okay, so because of this error, some variation, change in the design blueprint of this will happen, right? So uh, changes in the design will leads to some other formation of protein, right? So due to the change in the difference in the protein formation, the uh, body design will also change, right? So we'll see what are the importance of variation, whether it is a good or bad for the individuals or organism. Okay, how does the organism fill well-defined place or niche in a ecosystem? Niche is nothing but a well-defined place. That is, for example, cactus is adapted to the hot condition, right? So likewise, fish will adapt only in the water. Likewise, so it has some well-defined place. How does it maintain that space in that? Okay, using their ability to reproduce. If it does not reproduce, then it will not fill that place, right? It will not be there at that place. So once it reproduce, then only it can maintain their stability, right? So using their ability to reproduce, they will fill a well defined place in the ecosystem. Okay, next step. How can we say reproduction is linked to the stability of the population of the species? Last class itself we have learned that because of the reproduction, the stability of the population of a species is maintained, right? So what is happening there actually in reproduction? The DNA transfer from one generation to the next generation, right? So for example, if I'm living in a hot place means, so I should have the design of the same design of the body, right? Then only I can live in that hot place, right? So DNA transfer from one generation to next generation. How does it happen? By copying of the DNA. Okay, copying of the DNA takes place with consistency, regularly, with the consistent. If you are given some big gap means the generation, that species will become extinct, right? If you stop reproducing means, at what, if you keep on reproducing it, your population will be stable, because something, once it is getting older, it may die. To maintain the stability, you have to reproduce again and again, right? So we have to maintain the consistency. If you stop reproducing at one point, then there will be a big gap, even the species will fully extinct, right? So copying of DNA takes place with consistency, but with minor variation, only minor variation. Okay, if it is a drastic variation, it cannot survive. Okay, so with the minor variation, some errors will be there, which allow the organism to use the particular niche, particular adaptation, right? This consistency leads to stability of the species. This consistency in reproduction, consistency in reproducing, copying the DNA, this leads to the stability of the species. Okay, next. Is variation is good or bad for the individual? Whether this in 100% copying is not done there, so some errors will be there. So because of the error, the variation will happen, right? So is that variation is good or bad for the individual? Okay, variation may be good or bad for the individual organism. Okay, it may be good or bad for the organism, because see, if it is in the good condition, good means what? If there is a drastic change in the niche, for example, take one bacteria. Okay, some bacteria is there. uh, Take like this. Okay, this is a bacteria. It will live at only 30 degree Celsius, okay, temperature. Okay, it will reproduce. Okay, this also with some variations will be there. Again it will reproduce, it will multiply, it keep on multiplying, reproducing, right? Okay, for example, this due to variation, this alone adapted to a very high temperature, for example 50 degrees Celsius. Okay. Okay. uh, that if there is a drastic change in the niche due to the global warming, for example, this temperature may increase from 30 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, means all this bacteria will die, right? All this bacteria will die, and only this bacteria will able to survive in that place. Okay. That's so this variation is good for the individual organism. Okay. How it is bad for this individual means, if there is no change in the niche, so same condition, same temperature is maintained, means then this organism will not be able to survive in that temperature. It is not it is not able to reproduce their own. Okay. Because it is able to reproduce only at 50 degrees Celsius, means, but 30 degrees Celsius is prevailing, means it cannot reproduce. Okay. To the expected one, due to the some organism may not be able to adapt to the niche. It cannot survive at the 30 degrees Celsius. It can survive only at 50 degrees Celsius, so they reproduce less or it may die. Okay. So in case of any change in the niche, the variation is good for the individual. If there is no change, because of the variation, that organism may not able to reproduce or survive, so it may be bad for the individual. Okay. So either it may be, the variation may be a good or bad for the individual. Okay. Next, is variation good or bad for the species, the whole species? Now don't consider the individual, consider as a species. You know that it is only good, the variation is only good for the species. Okay. Definitely it is only good for the species. Okay. Because same thing, if there is a drastic change in the niche, that is the place where you are living, the niche may change, maybe change due to the temperature variation, water level increases, or some meteoroids hit this. So many examples are there. Due to the global warming, entire thing will be entire water level, temperature, water level will be increased. Okay. So if there is drastic change in the niche, the organism with the variation may able to survive. Okay. The organism with variation may be able to survive and flourish even in adverse condition. Okay. Very chill or very high, with the high temperature, it can able to survive and flourish even in the adverse condition. Thus variation is useful for the survival of the species over time. So variation is only good for the species. Clear? Thank you.